day and welcome back to Animal Liberation TV. So, I just wanted to do a little update on my ever ongoing court case stemming from my arrest at Camp Beagle last August. So, I feel like I can talk about it a little bit because of the developments that have been taking place. I can't talk too much specifically about the actual incident, but what I will do, I feel like I'm sort of fairly legally free to talk about it a little bit at the moment. The reasons why I want to talk about it is because, on the one hand, we get a little bit of an idea of how they'll deal with some people at these current times, and two, because it shows how I've dealt with the situation myself. So, let's try and do a little recap briefly of the event itself. So I went down, I was living on the coast of Wales last year for a few months. It was like a 5-hour drive to Camp Beagle. As soon as I heard Camp Beagle was happening, I was like, wow, I need to get down to that. This is probably one of the most dramatic and interesting and important things to happen in the animal liberation movement for a long time, in my opinion. That's not to say that there haven't been other things that have gone on, that have impressed me or inspired me or that have been vaguely effective or whatever even. But for me personally, my interest is primarily in anti-vivisection work, not because I care about animals in labs any more than I do in factory farms or fur farms or the hunting fields. Anyone mistreating an animal in any way really pisses me off. A lot of vivisection campaigns are winnable, and by campaigns I don't mean trying to introduce some bill into Parliament that bans vivisection or whatever. I'm talking about active pressure campaigns and direct action and civil disobedience. Through those methods we can beat vivisection because it's actually, compared to the size of the meat industry, and we've seen from plenty of examples, of which you've seen a brief glimpse in this channel, I mean enough of a glimpse to see how effective the campaigns against vivisection have been. So vivisection has always been pretty much my main focus because, one, they're winnable campaigns against these much smaller companies, generally speaking, than the meat trade, and two, because I think that vivisection is the inroad and the route to animal liberation. I've said that many times. I'm not the only person to think that. Barry Horn was the main guy that really sort of has given that as his kind of ethos, hasn't he? That vivisection, if we disrupt the business of vivisection in the UK and we get rid of the vast majority of it through our own methods, not through some sort of stupid parliament thing, which will never happen, by the way. That's my opinion. Petitions and whatever to get the laws changed, I don't think that's going to happen myself, and I will give a detailed analysis of that at some point, because obviously there's things like this early day motion EDM 175 that's going through about stuff linked to the the NBR campaign. You might have seen the EDM 175. Ricky Gervais and Peter Egan have been behind that. Personally, I don't think there will ever be any day through Parliament where we see legal changes banning vivisection. Maybe in 10-20 years time, as a kind of late response to what we've achieved by kicking it out, that at the end they'll go, yeah, we're banning vivisection now. We've already got rid of it, a bit like cosmetic testing, and when they banned fur farms in the UK, there's only a handful left because the animal liberation movement, when I say we, it's always in a collective sense of the movement. We'd shut them down, we'd shut all these places. So I don't think there's ever going to be a time when Parliament bans it. So it's always going to be down to us. So I believe that vivisection is the route to animal liberation, and I've explained that in other videos, especially in my video, the Spotlight on Vivisection 8, is it, which I called the most important video I'll ever upload here. I recommend everyone should watch that, because basically it's the teachings of Barry Horn type of thing via me, really, and just a summary of the 90s, especially the shack and the early noughties, shack methods and tactics and stuff, strategies, which like I've said many times, were already going on before. So I was living in Wales last summer. It took me 5 hours to drive down to Camp Beagle, but I was very excited by it. So I knew I had to be there. I think I did 3 weekends down there in the end. I spent all the money I had during that period getting there and back, as well as all the long travelling. So, there's not really any excuse for anyone not to go to Camp Beagle if, I've managed to do it from right on the coast of Wales. I had to go right across Cambridge in a straight line, pretty much. So I went about 3 times, and it was probably inevitable that I was going to get arrested at Camp Beagle, because that's seems to be part of my nature. Now, so it was the 3rd time I went, and this weekend I got there 4 days after they'd sent the Saturday, and I think it was the Tuesday before, 4 days, where they'd sent 2 vans off from MBR. Impex picked up 2 full vans of puppies and took them out. And that was after the initial 8 weeks of the camp, something like that. The first 8 weeks when it was set up, that they stopped all their shipping beagles out, didn't they? They dropped from 2-3 times a week or something, I think it was, to nothing for 8 weeks. So we were all, and the initial slogan, if you remember from Camp Beagle, is "We're not leaving without the beagles. We're not leaving without the dogs." And that's definitely the right approach to have. Obviously, that was a very philosophical, idealistic statement and idea that we'd be able to sort of take all of the 1,000 or whatever beagle puppies they've got in there and rehome them after just a few weeks of protest. We all daydream of immediate quick results, and every now and again you do get those, like regal rabbits, which I'll mention further. It's been mentioned in other podcasts briefly. Regal rabbits, but that was a breeder campaign. He shut down after a week of protest and said to the activists, "Come and take the animals." So that was brilliant. But that was on the back of a lot of breeder campaigns. So because he knew what potentially was coming and what he'd had a taste of in that first week, he was like, "Fuck this." So this is what I'm saying about the legacy and the history, because of our legacy and history, especially the more recent years, like in that Regal Rabbits, the fact that in the few months before, loads of breeders had been shut down, like Shamrock Monkey Farm, Hillgrove Cat Farm, Consort Beagles, Highline Rabbits, a couple of others, and there were ongoing other campaigns like New Church Guinea Pigs at that time. So because of that recent history, he was like, "Whoa, I don't want any of that heat that's been going on with the other people." But even stuff from 10, 20, 30 years ago is still powerful to us. And this is one of the reasons why I'm making this channel, because I'm trying to, in my own little way, trying to help provide a bridge from the past to the current, the present, and trying to help people realise that the influence from the past still bears so much weight, especially Barry's actions. That's why I'm always pushing those, because I do believe that his sacrifice of his life for the animal liberation ethic and struggle will always, even in 2,000 years time, people will still go, "Whoa, there was a guy who went along the strike for animals." Maybe in the next 2,000 people there'll be other people who do that and die for the animals. I'm sure there will be, if the struggle really starts getting going as it should. Unfortunately, people are going to die on both sides, which, if you say that, people go, "Oh my God," but that's any struggle that's serious, any political struggle. I hate to say it, but where there's conflict, there will be suffering and death. That's inevitable. It's a war. This is a war. We've lost people already. Our side's taken a lot of losses, and so far, one thing that and this is one thing that gets repeated several times. I think there might even be clips of people saying this on this channel, which is the animal liberation movement has shown enormous restraint, again, in the face of these horrible, disgusting, dirty, filthy fuckers that make their money from abusing and hurting animals. What sort of world is this? Anyway, Right, did I wrap that up? Who cares? Right, so I'm going to move on to what this podcast is supposed to be about. So there's my little custody thing, just to prove I've got the. And then there's all my various papers, bail. So I went down for the third weekend to Camp Beagle, and I got there on a Saturday. And 4 days before, they'd shipped out 2 van loads of beagles. And I'd been saying to people before I went down, "Oh, I'm going to be restrained. Maybe I might give a speech to people to call for restraint, so that because I believe that the longevity of Camp Beagle is more important than spontaneous actions that may bring it all on top with the police and everything and crush the protest." Because anyway, I won't go into that now. But so, despite my feelings that we needed to be restrained, I got there and I didn't seem to manage to restrain myself. So, and then when I went back afterwards, people going, "I thought you said you were going to tell people to be restrained, and look what you went and done." So, okay, there you go. So, I'm not going to talk about too much about the specifics of the actual event, other than to say the alleged incidents took place at the gates of MBR with 2 police there. Okay, and I didn't get arrested that day, but I was pretty sure that I might have done enough to get arrested. I realised I'd overstepped the line a little bit. And in fact, they sent 2 police officers that day with silly liaison bibs on, trying to charm the protesters and make out like they're impartial police and they're all friendly to you because they've got a stupid fucking police liaison vest on. Fuck off. Anyway, so you can see the sort of reaction I had to it. And I just felt like it was very cheeky, them sending just 2 coppers down 4 days after these beagles. I don't think they realise that this is a war situation. And I made all of those sort of points clear with some of the things I said. But so they didn't arrest me then. But I had a feeling that they were going to want to, because they did do that with Camp Beagle quite a lot. It was like nick people after things had happened, weeks sometimes. They'd go and sort of raid the camp. Anyway, that afternoon, when the workers, or some of the workers, were coming out, they sent, rather than just the 2 silly filth-in bibs, silly liaison bibs, trying to hoodwink people as to their true nature and intentions, which is private fucking security for animal abusing scum. You know, ACAB. I can't get it out, the jacket's too tight. Anyway, you've seen it before. And that afternoon, when the workers came out, they sent 3 vans of police, all packed. And it was a little bit lively, but nothing took place that day in the afternoon. And I kind of stood back from the crowd, and a couple of people said, "Look, I've seen the police pointing at you, Max. I think they're going to try and make a grab for you." So what I did was I kind of stepped back about 20 metres back from the main throng of the crowd, because I knew they'd have to go through all the protesters to get to me. And there were about, I don't know, maybe 100 people or something in there at that point. So I was thinking, they don't want to kick off a riot by trying to arrest me. So I was playing the sort of, as long as I didn't put myself right in front of them. So I kind of hung back. I went to the kitchen a bit and mooched around there looking at them, and they gave up on trying to arrest me that day. Anyway, on Sunday, the next day, there was some police in the morning. I was pretty much masked up like this, and then I made a mistake, which was just as I got into a vehicle, I took my shades and my hood down, and unfortunately, just up the road, a couple of coppers saw me. Probably about 30, 40 metres up the road. They were looking at me, and I tried to go in the vehicle sneakily, but not sneakily enough, is it? Next thing you know, a whole van of coppers have pulled up alongside the van I'm in, and proceeded to arrest me. And anyone that knows that was there, about 120 people maybe that day, came to saw me getting arrested out of the van, which I tried to make into a bit of a spectacle, because I try to make things amusing or different. I like to, make things a bit different than just usual. Oh, yeah. So it took about 15 minutes for them to nick me, and eventually I gave myself up relatively peacefully. And I was carted off to, where was it? Huntingdon, they took me actually that time. And I might have been there before, many years ago. And they kept me in a few hours, not too long. They treated me fairly respectfully, actually, I have to say. Anyway, as a result of that, they charged me with 4 offences. Section 4, Public Order Act, which is kind of like a step up from Section 5, breach of the peace type of thing, which is kind of threatening behaviour, abusive threatening behaviour. And so there was Section 4, police assault, obstruction of the highway, which they're saying I was getting in the way of the cars of the workers and threatening them. And then 4, they charged me with the Serious Organised Crime Act, that Tony Blair and Lord Sainsbury brought in, the scum of protecting vivisection. So they charged me with the SOPCA Act, obstruction, police assault, and Section 4, abusive threatening behaviour. And I can't go into all the actual case because I've got a trial in magistrates on the 19th of July for that in Peterborough. So they charged me with those things, and since then I think I've been in Cambridge magistrates 2 or 3 times and Cambridge Crown Court once. So when I went back to the station to answer police bail a few weeks after getting arrested to find out if they're going to charge me, they dropped the serious organised crime charge, they dropped the obstruction charge, and they stuck with the police assault and the threatening behaviour. Now, when I went there, there's always these things called pleas and bargains and all this sort of stuff. The prosecution try to offer you things, okay? Now, when the prosecution offer you things, it's nearly always for their benefit. So, you know, you have to weigh and judge everything up. You have to listen to your barrister. It depends what the charges are. It depends what the evidence is. So they wanted me to plead guilty to police assault, and they dropped the Section 4 straight away, the first appearance at magistrates. So I was thinking, well, fuck that. There's not really any evidence for the police assault. So police assault, well, it's assault on an emergency worker. It's a new charge they brought in a few years ago, so it doesn't sound as bad as police assault, because you know, no one likes the fucking police, so it doesn't carry much weight with it. But if you're charged with assault on an emergency worker, it just sounds like, oh dear, you know, it's like, sounds like you've attacked a nurse in a hospital or something, doesn't it? So it's like, it's a bit of an innocuous charge. I think that's why they brought it in. Anyway, they wanted me to charge, but the thing is about that charge is it's an either way charge, which means you can either have it in magistrates or Crown Court. Now, the Section 4 can't go to Crown Court, so I knew that the choice was, I take it to Crown Court, leave it to magistrates. There's not much evidence. A jury probably is not going to find me guilty of it, basically. That's what I was thinking. And also, a judge might kick it out because the evidence is so weak. The only problem is by taking it to Crown Court, the maximum sentence I could get was 12 months for everything, and in magistrates it would be 6 months for anything if I got a custodial sentence. So obviously they hope that that extra bit of time risk that you take and the whole Crown Court thing and being in front of a jury, they hope that you'll not go for that option and you'll just go guilty in magistrates and get a community service or something. That's what they're hoping you do, and that's what they're hoping I would do. Well, obviously, ACAB, I'm not going to fucking do what they think is best for me or what they, you know, what they've got planned. So I went not guilty, and I took it to Crown Court, the police assault, and just as I half hoped and suspected, along with my barrister, the judge kicked it out because it was a load of fucking weak bollocks. So, unfortunately, the police and the prosecution weren't too happy about that. So they've restarted the Section 4 back at magistrates. But the thing is now that my sentence is a maximum 6 months if I was even to get custodial. It's not really much of a custodial sentence. So here we go. What have I got here? And of course I had bail conditions with that, which is what I want to talk about. There's one of the bail sheets telling me all the fucking bullshit. That's what I think of that shit. I've been banned from Camp Beagle since August. The dirty bastards. They don't want me there. And then I was also banned from the B&K Hull site. So what have we got here? We've got the whole site exclusion map, where they show me the areas I'm not allowed to go. Yeah, like that. What's this? MBR Beagles. I'm not allowed to go there. That's the only bail condition that in the last appearance 2 weeks ago they dropped all my other bail conditions, which I'm quite pleased about, and I'm just banned from the camp. What's all this shit? It's a load of fucking bollocks, isn't it? And there's a little bit on my charge sheet. That you in the county of Cambridgeshire with intent to cause PC fuckface Barker harassment, alarm or distress. Oh. And then, what's this? But I assaulted an emergency worker, namely a police officer. Fuck off, ACAB. They don't like my ACAB tattoo. He didn't. Where's it go here? Acting in the exercise of his functions as a worker. As a worker, a copper. He's a piece of filth. By beating him. What? Well, that's been chucked out, that fucking stupid idea. But I thought this was quite an interesting one, because this is kind of where it kind of stemmed from when they first charged me with the Serious Organised Crime Act. Anyway, bail conditions. Bail condition 1. Not to contact in any way, follow, harass, or attempt to contact any staff member, perceived or otherwise, of Marshall Bioresources, their families, friends, or associates. And then what's the other one? It gets even better. Other bail conditions. Not to contact in any way, follow, harass, or attempt to communicate with any person representing any organisation which you believe or perceived to be suppliers, customers, or contractors of MBR Acres. Well, seeing as they supply dogs to all over the place, that's essentially banning me from protesting in any effective way against vivisection. But that's been dropped anyway, not that I took any fucking notice. Fuck the law. So, there we go. I think that's everything I pretty much wanted to say. In the meantime, look after yourselves. I'll be back at Camp Beagle as soon as that fucking that bail condition's been dropped. But there you go, that's what's going on with me now. In the meantime, everyone, take care.